This video is brought to you by the Nicholas County Historical Society.
Lived a brave-hearted woman, a spirit so refined. Nancy Hart was her name, in the shadows she would roam. A Confederate scout, she made the mountains her home, with courage in her stride and a heart of gold, guiding the Moccasin Rangers so bold. Oh, Nancy Hart, the tales they tell, through the forest and the valley, you knew them well. With the stars as your witness, you'd never lose sight. A whisper of freedom in the dark of the night. Through the thick of the battle, under the moon's glow, with a spirit unbroken, she'd quietly go. Gathering the secrets, you'd find her in the fray, bringing news to the camp for the break of day. From the Union soldiers' plans to the paths they would tread, Nancy rode like the wind, never filled with dread.
My name is Nancy Hart. I was a scout, guide, and spy for the Confederacy. I was born in 1846, in Raleigh, North Carolina. My family and I moved to Tazewell, Virginia, when I was an infant. I grew up in Rowan County of Virginia, now West Virginia. During my early life on the family farm, I became an expert with rifles, pistols, and riding horses. I could shoot a gun or handle a horse as good as any man. My favorite pastimes was horse racing, barrel racing, and turkey shoots. I moved in with my sister, Mary Price, and brother-in-law, William Clay Price, temporary, while our new home was being built and to help with Mary's pregnancy. William, Mary, and I all helped the Confederate cause by going to town and helping our partisan Confederate neighbors by passing on helpful information and reporting Union Army activities. When we could, we furnished aid to the guerrillas. Once in a while, we would serve as lookouts or messengers for some activity. William had plans to enlist in the Confederate Army soon, but was staying home long enough to harvest our crops and butcher our meat before he left. One day the Union soldiers came to question William. Knowingly, I was also suspected in being a spy, so I hid under the bed to avoid capture. They took William away. 3 days later, William had not come back yet. A neighbor knocked on the door and came in hurriedly. He said William's body had been found along the Triplet Run Road to Spencer. He was found in a ditch, and his body was riddled with bullet holes. This fueled my rage and hatred toward the Union cause. I had a lot of pent-up anger. That night, I sat around the fireplace with Mary. Mary was mourning about her loss of William. I said, I wish I could be part of the army and get back at those Yanks for William. The following night, I was invited to a going-away party for some new recruits, and I was introduced to Perry Conley, the leader of the Moccasin Rangers, a local guerrilla group. Perry said, "Pardon me, ma'am, I'm Perry Conley, leader of the Moccasin Rangers, and this is my right-hand man, Josh Douglas." Josh Douglas later became my future husband. Perry Conley said, "We are not a regular army. Do you see any uniforms?" He asked, "Would you like to join our ranger group?" I said, "I am just a young girl, and I would be amongst all of those men." Perry said, "Heck, we have a whole gang of girls with us and they get nothing but respect." But I didn't take him up on his offer at the time. But in early 1861, after a contingent of Union troops passed through my town, my sympathy for the Confederacy prompted me to leave home and join the Moccasin Rangers. Well, I joined the Rangers and worked for them for about a year, as a spy and a scout, posing as a farm girl to gather intelligence. I saved the lives of a number of wounded Confederate soldiers by hiding them with sympathizers. I also personally led several Confederate cavalry raids against Federal outposts. I soon became a valuable asset to the Rangers, serving both as a spy and a guide to the local region. I became so famous and such an enigma for Union forces in West Virginia, that a reward was offered for information leading to my capture in 1862. After one such skirmish, I was briefly captured, but I persuaded the Union soldiers to let me go, based on the fact I was a woman and posed no harm to them. Shortly thereafter, I and a female friend, Marion Kerner, was captured again by Union troops led by Lieutenant Colonel Starr, of the 9th West Virginia Infantry, and was taken prisoner in Summersville, West Virginia. We were imprisoned upstairs of the telegraph office that same night. I flirted with my guard and asked him to inspect his pistol. Well, he did, and I shot him dead. We escaped from the Union camp on Colonel Starr's horse and joined a regiment of about 200 Confederate cavalrymen, led by Major Augustus Bailey, at our hideout at Cold Knob Mountain. A week later, I led our Confederate cavalrymen and overran Summersville, burning many of the public buildings and taking Lieutenant Colonel Starr prisoner. In the summer of 1862, the leader of the Moccasin Rangers, Perry Conley, was killed by Union troops in Webster County. With Perry Conley's loss, the Moccasin Rangers disbanded, but I continued to spy on Union movements. Also, after the Rangers disbanded, my future husband, Joshua Douglas, joined the 19th Virginian Cavalry. When the war ended, I married the former Ranger Joshua Douglas. We faced much hostility and anger from neighbors, so we moved to Trout, West Virginia, because the community was much more friendlier to ex-Confederate patriots like ourselves. We had 2 sons, George and Kennos. On December 25, 1893, Keenis was invited to a neighbor's wood chopping party event at Thomas Reed's house. Keenis got drunk and shot Thomas Reed in the stomach. Reed died 3 days later. Keenis was quickly incarcerated in the Lewisburg jail, without bail. Dr. William Rucker defended Keenis in the murder trial. Keenis was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison, January 15, 1895. But he was released March 2, 1899, after serving 4 years. It was believed he was dying of tuberculosis. But he later recovered and led a normal life. After my husband died in 1907, I moved in with my 2 sons, George and Keenis, to Manning Knob, in Greenbrier County. I died in 1913. I was buried at Manning Knob, in the Manning Knob Cemetery. Thank you for watching my video about my life.
In the hills of West Virginia, where the river winds, lived a brave-hearted woman, a spirit so refined. Nancy Hart was her name, in the shadows she would roam. A Confederate scout, she made the mountains her home, with courage in her stride and a heart of gold, guiding the Moccasin Rangers so bold. Oh, Nancy Hart, the tales they tell, through the forest and the valley, you knew them well. With the stars as your witness, you'd never lose sight, a whisper of freedom in the dark of the night.